In Dynasty Craft, each game simulates a full NFL football game. Each turn simulates a drive. There are two main types of card that you will play: playmakers and supports. Playmakers on offense are your wide receivers, running backs, and tight ends that get their hands on the ball and try to gain enough yards to score. Playmakers on defense are your linebackers and defensive backs that will cover them and try to stop them. Offensive and defensive playmakers will always be directly across from each other. Offensive supports are your quarterback, coaches, and linemen. They rarely take the ball down the field themselves, but instead offer many other ways to help their team's playmakers to score. These cards will always be played in the back row closest to you. The game takes place in two side-by-side zones. One side is where your offense will be, with your opponent's defense directly across. The other side is where your opponent's offense will be, and likewise your defense directly across. Cards in these zones will never have an effect on the other zone, so you might as well pretend it's not even there. When you're on offense, you can play offensive cards, and then your opponent can play defensive cards. Then you can decide if you want to attempt to score, or maybe you want to wait till you have better players in play or the perfect play call to create a mismatch. Play calls are another type of card in this game. They provide bonuses or special rules that can really help you or hinder your opponent. Here's an offensive play that can really hurt your opponent if you force a weak player to cover one of your strongest. And here's a defensive play that can help get playmakers into play. Being able to search for cards is always a powerful ability in card games. After you've had your chance on offense, the game shifts to the next zone and your opponent will now be on offense. The game goes back and forth until each player has had 12 turns on offense, or if one player has scored enough points to mathematically make it impossible for their opponent to win or tie. To add an element of strategy and keep the board from becoming too cluttered, you can only have 7 total playmakers and 7 total supports for a total of 14 cards in play on your side of the board. If you have reached your total of 7 players, playmakers or supports, you can still play new cards, but with a drawback. The new card must replace any card on that row, and the replaced card is put at the bottom of your deck. Imagine this is your board, and your opponent has 2 offensive playmakers in play, but they play a third. You obviously want to match each of your opponent's offensive players with a defensive player, or else they will score. So you can respond by putting in a third defensive playmaker, but you have to sub a player out. Now you have enough defensive players to match them, and you can probably stop them from scoring, and you are at the 7-player limit. This allows many ways to control the board: to be proactive, be defensive, maybe build a deck that constantly subs players to force your opponent to try and match. Possibilities are endless. So, there are the basics. If you'd like to learn more, join the Discord channel, check out some of the other tutorials. Thanks for watching.